Sometimes, the person who pulls away ends up being the one they can't stop thinking about. Strange, right? That someone's absence can echo louder than their presence. She used to be available. She used to always be there, laughing at his jokes, replying quickly, showing up even when he didn't ask. But then, something changed. She didn't chase. She didn't explain. She simply stepped back. And that's when he noticed. There's a silent force that works in relationships, one that no one talks about. It doesn't involve saying the right words or trying harder. In fact, it begins the moment you stop trying at all. What if distance isn't the end of connection, but the beginning of something deeper? What if the space you create makes him feel something he didn't expect, something he can't ignore, even if he tries? In this video, we'll explore that hidden force, the kind of power that doesn't come from effort, but from understanding how human desire really works. By the end, you'll see why her silence wasn't rejection. It was a message, one he couldn't unhear. You're watching Neurovista, where we dive into the psychology of connection and attraction. Subscribe now and stay with us till the end, because the secret we're about to uncover might just change the way you see everything. There's a strange shift that happens when she stops being so available. Not cold, not distant out of bitterness, just quieter, a little less present. At first, he might not notice. Maybe he's used to the daily check-ins, the quick replies, the little moments where she'd show up for him, without him even asking. But then, something changes. She doesn't respond right away. She's not always the first to reach out. And it's in that pause, those small, silent spaces, that something unexpected begins to happen inside his mind. He starts to notice. Not just the silence, but what's missing in it. Her laugh, her energy, the feeling she gave when she was around. It's as if the air feels different without her in it. You see, when someone is constantly around, the brain stops registering them as special. Their presence fades into the background, like a song that's played too many times. But when she steps back, even just a little, he feels it more than he expected, because the mind hates empty space. And when she's not there to fill it, his thoughts begin to do the job for her. He wonders where she is, who she's with, why she pulled away. That curiosity, it creates tension, and tension is the spark that makes desire come alive. It's not about being manipulative. It's about understanding that the human brain is wired for unpredictability. Psychology proves this. We crave what feels uncertain, what we can't fully predict or control. And when her presence becomes less predictable, it suddenly feels more valuable. Before, she was just there. Now, she's a question he can't stop trying to answer. And that mystery? That's where it all begins. There's something fascinating about how the brain works when we don't have all the answers. When someone is always available, the mind doesn't need to work very hard. But take that presence away, even slightly, and suddenly, the brain lights up, not with panic, but with curiosity, with longing, with a silent hunger to figure out what's going on. That's because our brains are wired to respond to unpredictability. We crave novelty. And distance? It acts like a spark, waking up the parts of the brain tied to desire and anticipation. It's not just a feeling, it's chemical. When she becomes a little more unpredictable, his brain releases more dopamine, the very hormone that makes us chase what we want. That space she creates, it's not emptiness, it's tension, and tension builds anticipation. Think of it like this. When we don't know when the next message is coming, or when we'll see someone again, our thoughts cling tighter. That uncertainty doesn't push us away, it pulls us in. Psychologists call it the expectancy violations theory. It's the idea that when someone breaks from what we expect, when they don't react the same way, don't show up at the usual time, it jolts us awake. It grabs our attention. So when she's no longer texting first, or when her focus shifts elsewhere, it disrupts the pattern. And that disruption? That's what makes him pause, what makes him notice, what makes her suddenly unforgettable. Because in a world that runs on routine, being just a little unpredictable is power. Sarah didn't change overnight. At first, she was always there, always saying yes, always making time, even when he didn't ask. She thought that showing up constantly meant love, that the more available she was, the more connected they'd be. But over time, something subtle began to shift. He stopped putting in the same effort. The texts came slower. The plans became vague. She could feel it. He was pulling back, even though she was still giving her all. That's when something inside her clicked. She didn't slam the door. She didn't cause drama. She just paused. She stopped chasing. She started focusing on herself again, the things she once loved but had quietly set aside. Her energy returned. She spent time with friends, explored new hobbies, and even smiled more. And the more she poured into herself, the less she waited for him to notice. But the irony? That's exactly when he did. He started asking where she'd been, wondered what she was up to. He was suddenly more affectionate, more present. Not because she said anything, but because the certainty he once had was gone. Her attention wasn't a guarantee anymore. And that's when he realized just how much it meant. This happens more often than people realize. When someone pulls back to focus on their own life, something changes in the dynamic. It's not manipulation. It's simply human nature. We're drawn to what feels scarce. And when your presence becomes something someone has to earn again, it holds more weight. Sometimes, distance isn't about leaving someone behind. It's about returning to yourself and letting them feel what it's like not to have full access to your light. It's easy to confuse creating space with playing games. But real distance, the kind that builds value, isn't about pretending or manipulating. It's about returning to yourself. When she stopped texting back right away, it wasn't because she was trying to seem cool. It was because she was finally giving herself time to breathe. She stopped waiting by the phone and started showing up for herself. This is where the shift happens. When a woman respects her own boundaries, the energy changes. She's not chasing. She's not proving. She's simply living, and he starts to feel it. The silence isn't cold. It's magnetic. He wonders what she's doing, who she's with, why her attention suddenly feels like something worth earning again. The most powerful part? It's not forced. She's not playing hard to get. She's just getting back to herself, reconnecting with the things that light her up, spending time with people who make her laugh, diving into goals she once put on pause, and slowly, without even realizing it, she becomes more radiant, more grounded. That's the kind of presence that doesn't beg to be noticed. It demands it. Psychology backs this up. Boundaries build respect. And when someone knows that your time, your energy, your attention is sacred, they treat it that way. Creating space isn't about pushing someone away. It's about giving them room to miss you, and more importantly, giving yourself room to grow. There's something many women don't realize. He needs space just as much as you do, not because he's losing interest, not because he's hiding something, but because space is where he reconnects with himself. It's where he makes sense of his thoughts, his emotions, and yes, even his feelings for you. When a man pulls back a little, it's not always a sign to panic. In fact, it's often the moment just before he leans in, on his own terms. Men are wired for independence. It's how many of them recharge, solve problems, and feel like themselves again. If he feels like he's constantly under emotional pressure, like he can't breathe without being questioned or needed, it can push him further away. But when you give him room, without resentment or fear, you give him the chance to come closer out of desire, not obligation. There's a quiet power in letting someone miss you. It gives them the space to realize what they feel, instead of being told what they should feel. And ironically, when he has the freedom to choose, he chooses you more deeply. That's the kind of connection that doesn't fade when things get tough, because it's built not just on closeness, but on trust, respect, and the kind of freedom that deepens love instead of draining it. Here's where things get surprisingly scientific. When you pull away, not out of spite, but with calm confidence, something unexpected happens in his brain. It's not just emotional, it's neurological. That sudden absence activates areas in the brain linked to craving and reward. The same parts that light up when someone longs for a favorite song, or the warmth of the sun after winter. Your presence becomes something he starts to chase, because it's no longer on demand. The brain doesn't like gaps in stories, and when you're no longer immediately available, he starts filling in those blanks with thoughts of you. What are you doing? Why do you feel a little further away today? Is she thinking about me too? That little mental tension, that gap between what he knows and what he wants to know, creates a powerful pull. It keeps him emotionally alert and emotionally invested. It's a phenomenon backed by research. Studies have shown that emotional distance stimulates the brain's dopamine system, the same system tied to motivation, addiction, and romantic desire. The less predictable your presence becomes, the more his brain begins to crave it. Not because you're playing games, but because you've stepped into your power. You've become a mystery he wants to solve, a presence he values more when it's not guaranteed. Here's the tricky part. Creating space isn't without its risks. It's not always going to play out the way you expect. At first, he might not know how to handle it. He could feel confused or even a little neglected. But here's the thing. When you give someone the chance to miss you, it sets the stage for something deeper. The absence isn't truly absence. It's the presence of a feeling. And when they return, it's stronger, more intense. Think of it like a pendulum. When you pull back, it swings away. But when it swings back, it often comes with more force. The space you create isn't about making him feel ignored. It's about giving him room to process, to yearn, and to rediscover what's special about you. It's like the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. But this is about it happening in real time, not just in the moment, but over time. Relationships thrive on balance. The right amount of space can make the connection feel fresher, more charged. You're not playing games. You're simply allowing him the space to want you more, without suffocating him. When he comes back, he'll appreciate your presence even more, and that's where the magic happens. Knowing when to step back and when to step forward can feel like a delicate dance. It's not always obvious, but paying attention to the signs is key. If you've been constantly available, you might be overextending yourself. That's when it's time to pull back and give space. It creates a bit of distance, and trust me, that little bit of space can have a big impact. But on the flip side, if he's been distant for too long, maybe it's time to step forward. Sometimes a simple text or a thoughtful gesture can re-engage the connection. It's all about balance, finding that sweet spot between creating space and nurturing closeness. The trick is being attuned to the dynamics of your relationship. Is he pulling away because he's overwhelmed? Or does he seem to need a bit of space to miss you? These signals are important. You have to read between the lines, paying attention to his energy, his mood, and your own instincts. Great relationships don't just happen, they thrive on timing. Knowing when to give someone space and when to bring them closer is a skill that comes from listening closely, both to your own feelings and to the other person's. Trust your instincts. When you get the balance right, things naturally fall into place. It's not about playing a game, it's about knowing when to step back and when to show up fully. Remember, the secret isn't playing games. It's about knowing your worth, respecting yourself, and creating a little space to make your presence count. Distance, when used wisely, can strengthen the bond and make him crave you more than ever. If this surprised you, hit that subscribe button. There's so much more to discover about attraction, relationships, and the psychology behind it. Trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next.